storage. Okay, now we get to go, Olga. Hold on one second. I'm going to say a couple of things, Olga, and then I'll turn it over to you. You move up in, yeah. Welcome, Olga. We will say right off the top that our other colleague, Anastasia, who we expected to work, we did, I think it's my fault because we started talking Central European time instead of the Eastern European time, and she had to go on the air at 5:30, so she's just gone on the air. So she will not be joining us. Olga was going to join us no matter what, and she works very closely with Anastasia. So we're going to turn it over to Anastasia to do a presentation on her work. I will just say by way of introductions, Olga, that I haven't met you, but you worked with our colleagues, I believe it was Amy Hill and somebody else, who came to Ukraine to do a project on the issues of corruption and democracy broadly. And you were part of that workshop. So you can talk about that experience if you want, but it's your floor to introduce yourself, talk about who you are and where you are and what you do, and then present what you want to present. So I give you Olga coming in from someplace in Eastern Europe. Go ahead, Olga.
Yeah, hello. Nice to meet you even online. It's a great pleasure to be here. My name is Olga. I was born and raised in Kiev, but I left my country just 2 days before the war because I had a vacation time with my family. So I changed maybe 5 apartments for this almost 4 months. And also, like, I changed 3 countries. Now I'm in Germany, in a small village where only 700 people live. So it's not so easy for me because every day I'm thinking about getting back to Kiev. And I hope that I will manage it in few weeks. But now I'm in Germany, not far from Mainz. It's near the border with France. So if we talk about my work experience, I'm an editor-in-chief at 24 News channel, and I'm responsible for the digital, for the website, and for social networks, as well as for the storytelling and formats. So today I will briefly introduce you our recent projects, because when the war has started, we realized that we need to change our vision. We switched from the news to storytelling just to give people this understanding of what is happening, because they could read this news everywhere, like on Facebook, Twitter, and so on. So maybe it's not so important to rewrite it, but more important to create stories and to show the life of like simple, ordinary people, their daily life, challenges that they faced. So that is why we created few projects about internally displaced persons, IDPs. It's persons who was forced to leave their home cities because it was not safe there, or because these cities were occupied. So they left their cities, moving to some more safe spots, more safe cities, like mostly on western part of Ukraine. Because speaking about my editorial board, before the war, we had 2 main offices, one in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, and another one not far from the border with Poland in Lviv. So when war has started, our Kiev office was closed, and we evacuated all the staff to the Lviv. So that is why this process of creation the stories also wasn't very easy for us, because we also faced with this emotional background when we also in danger, but we need to produce stories, to create some videos, articles, and other stuff for our editorial board, but anyway, I will show you more in details our work and you will understand like the main idea. So if you will have some questions, so we can like speak after my presentation, I guess, so keep it in mind.
Yeah, feel free to go ahead, Olga, with your presentation.
So do you see my screen? Yeah.
Yeah, we see you.
Oh. So I guess now you see the screen, yeah? The presentation. Yeah. So I started from these photos because these photos were taken in Kharkiv. It's eastern part of Ukraine. This city was shelled by Russian army every day. Now, like some districts already destroyed. So one of my colleagues, Alina, she shot these pictures just to show like these feelings of children when they are on the war. So next, I will show you our perception of the stories, pictures, and some content that we are producing for our media. Because as I wrote here, that doing journalism now, it's not so easy, but anyway, we're struggling and we're trying our best and produce real important stories. So I explained to you in the beginning some information that we're a big Ukrainian independent media that operates starting from 2006. And we've got a big transformation on 2014 when Revolution of Dignity was happened. It was a big movement for European values and EU perspectives for Ukraine. By the way, like this week also very important for Ukraine because we have application for joining EU and we are like still hoping that EU will approve it. So now it's like the second step and the second big date for us just to have this chance to join EU and have more opportunities for our citizens to be more protected, to be more safe, and also to share also our common values with EU citizens. So if we talk about our editorial board, before the war, it was more than 135 journalists, and now there are approximately 70 professionals, but anyway, we're still providing many stories and news. If we talk about our newsroom and our daily work, so as I mentioned, we have an office in Lviv, and also we decided that everyone who wants can work from their home office because it's more safe. Sometimes people need to be with their parents or with their children, so they don't need to spend their time for getting to the office and so on, because sometimes it's not so easy. We have like a few air alarms every day, and sometimes it's not so safe just to go to your office and spend this time on the street. And also for creating such useful content, we had many collaborations with volunteers and activists. They helped us a lot because now our state can't provide many things. So volunteers, they just brought this responsibility for helping refugees, IDPs, just like people who stayed at home, who lost their job and so on. So we decided that we need also to give them a floor, because they like contributed a lot for our society during these hard times. And if someone would be interested in our like business model, so like before it was traffic and advertising and so on, but now it's just support from donations and some monetizations on YouTube, because it's not so easy to find some special advertisement because of this wartime. So we switched to this donation system, and also we developed a lot our YouTube platform. And also one thing that we made is that we created like free usage of our content, just to be visible, just to share our photos, videos, and articles with other publishers. Because like even like last few weeks, I noticed that Ukraine starting to disappear from the first page of magazines and newspapers, because it's natural, but people like got tired from this. They exhausted of this war news and so on. But anyway, we need to be bold, and we need to show the situation in Ukraine. So we decided just to make this content free. And if we talk about the statistics, here are some numbers, but I think that it's not so like important for the storytelling. So I will go further. So if we talk about our approach, it's like a mixture of like constant tracking of trends, but also the understanding that we need to create the stories. But I need to tell you that for media, I don't know how it like works for like some personal promotion and so on, but we understood that story is not enough. Sometimes you could have a very like nice, very touching story, but something just doesn't work because you didn't choose the right channel of distribution of this content. So we also created like the special approach. We divided our content on different like parts, just to see how it would be useful for each platform. Like, for example, if you need to show something on YouTube, you need to provide not only text but video. If you want to provide it through TikTok or Instagram, you need to create some maybe very like modern and fast visual, just to catch this attention. So we also take care of this part, because anyway, you need to find these channels of communication with your audience and to present them not only like the story, but you need to create this special background how to deliver the story to the audience. So, and also if we talk about some transformation process, so during the first weeks of war, we're also like were very engaged into news, but then we realized that we need to create more stories, because stories really matter now, and people like need this explanation not only from some officials or from some like statements or from Zelensky as a president, but they also need to see the stories from others, to understand what is happening with their neighbors, with the citizens of their native cities, and so on. So, like example, I want to show you the first story. Like, it's a small video about the boy who was saved by the soldier, and he was evacuated to the Lviv, to the western part of Ukraine near EU border. So this saved his life. Do you see my screen now? Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Olga, when you started sharing, you didn't click the special button that says share audio. So stop sharing briefly, and then you can reshare. And then when you click the share button the next time, look for the little button at the bottom that says share computer audio. So first stop sharing in Zoom. A little green line, there you go. And then when you hit share, you'll see in the bottom left corner, share computer audio. And so we should hear it now. Let's try. Yeah, the volume also doesn't look that turned up there on YouTube.
So do you hear now?
No, we didn't hear yet. So we noticed in your YouTube, your volume is also turned down very low. Your actually YouTube volume, which you see in the bottom left corner. When you move your mouse down, you'll see a volume next to the time code where it says 0.31. Yeah, see if that helps. You may still need to get the button right, but we'll see. Just hit play first before you go full screen. Now, I still think we don't have you sharing your computer audio.
And now?
Did you click the button when you reshared, the one that said share computer audio, and it may say it in Russian for all that, you know. So stop sharing. And then see when you click the share screen, there should be a button on the screen that says.
Yeah, I made it.
Okay, good. Let's see.
Alexandrovich, I moved out from.
Now you see.
Yeah, and I'll turn the volume down here, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My name is Gordienko Sergei Alexandrovich. I moved out from Kharkiv. We were taken by evacuation train to Lviv in order to go to Germany for treatment. On April 19th, my wife and I went to the grocery store. Fortunately, our child, our 90-year-old daughter, stayed at home. She just didn't want to go. At about 1 p.m., the shelling started as we were walking home. There was very little left to go. Literally, the second projectile covered us. She died on the spot. I received a piece of metal in the abdomen. As a result, my left leg was amputated. In addition, I have a broken right leg. I was rescued by soldiers, a checkpoint nearby, and a tourniquet was put on me in time. I screamed. My wife died immediately. I saw it. She didn't suffer. And I started screaming, and they ran. Yes, they started rescuing me. I didn't lose consciousness for a second. Have you been conscious all along? And when they put the first stitches and helped? All time, until the clothes were cut in an operating room. You were immediately sent to the Kharkiv hospital, right? To the military hospital. And how did this help come about? Did the soldiers just call an ambulance? What did this process look like? Probably they called, I remember badly. I remember that they acted very professionally. In fact, they saved my life.
So if we talk about the stories from people who lost their relatives, their wives, kids, and so on, it's not so easy to work with these stories. But anyway, we felt that we need to do this, and we need to create this understanding in our society that even if like people from another part of Ukraine, from Russian-speaking city like Kharkiv, anyway, we need to share these stories and to show that these people also suffering and they also need this support. And why I mentioned this particular video, maybe it's not so comfortable for you to watch it, because I wanted to mention that the biggest part of our editorial board are women, and imagine how we work with these stories, because you need to go to the hospital, you need to gather the stories, you need to be attentive, you need to be very you need to think about your safety if you're working on some constantly shelled territory and so on. So anyway, like every woman from our editorial board knows how it feels like to be a mother, sister, and wife. And anyway, you still need to be responsible not only for your relatives, for your kids, and so on, but also you need to work, because many people, many men, they are now in the army, so they can't provide any help to the family. So women now responsible for all like daily life and all the family. And I wanted to say that it's very important now also to support women in not only in Ukraine, but I guess like all around the world, all women who make stories, who listen to people and then create some pieces, because it's not so easy. And sometimes you just work as fixer or as journalist in a par with a man, but sometimes you just didn't prepared for this, because no one from us wanted to be some war journalist or some war correspondent. Another part that I wanted to share with you is that photos and stories are very connected, and sometimes even one shot or one very emotional photo can create its own story. For example, my colleague, she was in Kiev region just after the liberation, the territory, and she took photos of people who were saved by our military fighters, and you can imagine that like this photo like tells a lot. This photo, it's like one separate story if you want to create something. Sometimes you just don't need like to shoot like many pieces or many videos, or you don't need sometimes to write like a few pages of text. You just need to catch this moment, to catch this gaze, these eyes, or maybe some particular emotion, and then you can create from this separate story. So, for example, after this image, this portrait, we also created a story about the this woman from Kiev region. She also lost all her family, and she was not in a mood like to talk much, but anyway, we gave this perception of what happened there through the emotion and through the eyes of one person. So we also made not only such like hard stories, but also made some visuals from normal, like how we can call it normal life, but anyway, like from the daily life during the war. And we also like created some special photo stories with minimal text, just to show the situation. Like this is like Vyshivanka Day. It's a day when we wear our national costumes with a special pattern. And like you see that people dancing here, even if it's like a wartime, or like the center of the Kiev, where we see this destroyed Russian military equipment, but like people making photos there, and also like it's not only like some photos from territory of fighting. And for like our media, the main idea was to find this balance between storytelling and news, because we saw that the people's attention changed through this timeline. So that is why we wanted to be useful for them, and also wanted to share not only like news, but also, as I mentioned, some stories, but but we didn't avoid also this informational background. So if we needed to share some useful information, we also created some news. So it was like the main part of my presentation. I'm really sorry if I like didn't match in your like story mood, but I guess that if you will ask me some question, maybe I will be more specific.
You know, first of all, let's say, Olga, we realize that your life has been unalterably changed in the last 4 months, and we understand that, you know, whatever you're doing your best to help the Ukrainian people and help, you know, all the people go through this terrible time. So do not apologize for anything. We thank you for your time and being here. But we'll open it up to the floor. What I wanted to do before we open it up is give you a gift, Olga. And this is an interesting thing, that one of our participants here is a journalist who's been working in the Ukraine from here in England. And he wants to share a digital story he made about his experiences for you and for our audience here that has not seen it. So Ade, I'm gonna ask you to come up here and introduce this piece. This is our colleague Ade. He was in my Sunday workshop, Olga, so he's like new to me, new friend of mine. But he's gonna tell you about what he's been doing and show you this story as a gift to the Ukrainian people, as a witness of what's going on. So go ahead, Ade.
Great.
Hi, Olga. Let's see.
Hi.
Share screen. This one.
Looks like it. Did you do the sound? Did you share screen for her?
Did I?
I don't know. You did so quick, dude.
I did it so quick.
You were like jumping in there. I gotta see it. I think it's probably default. No, you didn't. See, she wouldn't have been able to hear it.
Yeah. That one?
Optimize for video and do the
That's
screen.
it.
Not yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
You want to say anything before you show? Say something. Come on.
Hey, so I don't have anything planned. But I'm a cameraman with CBS. I've been working with them for about 10 years now. I've been a cameraman journalist for about 15 years. And I first went to Ukraine in 2014 when the revolution first started. And I've been going back ever since. And, you know, I've been to Ukraine quite a lot. I've been to Syria, Iraq, lots of different places around the world, in conflict, not in conflict. And so I help tell stories as part of my day job. And part of what drew me to the masters and coming to Loughborough was trying to create a space in my life to think a bit more deeply about what those stories do in the world, the ethics of, you know, being a journalist and just telling other people's stories versus what Joe does in digital stories, where, you know, you allow other people to tell their own stories in their own voices. And I think that's quite a powerful thing. And so as part of my master's, I did a placement. And as part of that placement, I created this digital story about my experience working in Ukraine. So I guess this is, you know, my little story about working in Ukraine and the things that I saw and the impact it's had on me.
I am a witness to so many stories in my work as a cameraman. My last assignment was in Ukraine, a country I first saw as it turned against the then pro-Russian president, Viktor Yanukovych. I saw my first dead body during that revolution and used my camera to shield myself from looking directly at the young lifeless body in the square. Seeing things unravel and go from normal to a total state of war was a surreal and terrifying experience. First, there is denial, then shock, followed by defiance, resignation, and panic. Something about 190,000 troops bearing down on you made this feel like one of the most terrifying stories I have ever covered. Leaving Ukraine amongst a sea of refugees, I felt both relief that I had survived, but also guilt that I was able to walk away to settle back into my comfortable life in London. At home, it always takes me a while for me to feel safe again, for my body not to flinch when doors bang or when a plane flies overhead. I too was a refugee. On my own journey of making a new home here in Britain, I find it hard to quantify what was lost between the war in Somalia and settling in the UK. And there is real pride in helping to document and tell the stories of other people just starting out on that perilous journey.
So, Olga, I know you know that there are friends of the Ukrainian people all over the world, and a lot of people are paying attention. And we also understand this issue of our attention span waning as each day this story continues. I'm sure, you know, there are going to be many questions, but kind of when you talked about the way you were changing your approach as we enter into month 4 and, you know, the 120 days and the 150 days, what are some of the things that specifically you've done that are new to try to get more eyeballs looking at the Ukrainian people's efforts? Is there some specific lessons you've learned from that?
You know, if we talk like about this, like some specific approaches, I didn't think that we made something like new, but we started like listen to people, not paying too much attention to what authorities say. For me, it was something new because like sometimes you need to compare this perspective from like politicians and perspective for the people. And I think that it's very important that we understood that we need to think about people first, and then maybe you will need like some more information from authorities. For example, like I can give you a small example. Like last week, I had 3 conversations with people from occupied territories, like south of Ukraine, Kherson region. They were occupied during the first days of war from the very beginning, and now it's like impossible to leave the city. And also, it's not so easy to be there because you have no job, you have no chance to to learn something at school and so on, because everything is closed. And also sometimes if you need to go to the Ukrainian territory just to go to the hospital or somewhere or just to be evacuated, sometimes you just need to stay on your knees on a checkpoint. Stay on your knees near the Russian soldiers to explain them that you need to go to the hospital, or you need to save your mother, your brother, and so on. And it was very painful because when I spoke to authorities before, they said me that the situation there is okay, you can easily leave the city, you can try and everything will be okay. But I heard many stories that people were suffered from this process of crossing 7 or 8 checkpoints for 100 kilometers. So I guess that for me, it was a great discover that I need to listen to people first. And it's a shame of me because before I thought that, oh, you need improvement from some authorities, every time when you need to show some perspective, especially in a wartime when you can easily when you don't need to be so maybe critical to them because it's a hard times and they protected you. But anyway, they protecting you in a way of in a way of a state, in a way of some legal perspective. But you still need to be on the side of people. You still need to show the real life. And for me, it was a big discovery that I didn't make it earlier, because I get that as a journalist, maybe I needed to be on that side of people even before the war. But now it was very big change for me and for biggest part of my staff, just to be a human and to show this situation from human perspective, not from some legal perspective or from some authorities perspective.
One more question, then I'll turn it over to the audience. You know, in our work, we talk a lot about trauma and the trauma of listening and observing really difficult stories, and how it affects people as individuals, and where you find the strength, the resiliency to keep doing what you're doing. Are there things that you and your colleagues have done to try to support each other and your emotional health during this period so that you can stay on the job and be as resilient as you can?
I guess that now, just when you're in the process of fighting with yourself, just to not to go crazy from all this information, I get that now we just make it, we just surviving because we're still working. Because when I even can judge from myself, if I have a day off, I'm starting to realize what happened. But when I'm writing some piece or when I'm talking to someone, for me, it's much easier to overcome this trauma. So maybe if you're on a run, if you're making something or writing something, you feel that you're somehow useful, that you also contribute to some maybe it's pathetic, but on this war on informational front. So for you, it's maybe easier. I get that maybe we will have bigger problem when the war will end, because then we will realize that happened many things, and maybe then we will need to maybe rethink it, discuss it. Maybe then we will need some support for like mental health and some support from some professionals. But now it's maybe even easier because you are still working, and since you're working, you are like feel that you also make some very important things.
It makes sense. I think we all realize that when you're in the middle of a crisis, you just got to get to the other side of the crisis, and you're really not in time for reflection. So out there in the audience, are there any questions for Olga about her work, or maybe Ade in terms of his work as a photojournalist, TV journalist? Come on, gang. There you go. Hold on. Let me bring the mic to you. Oh,
hi, Olga. Thank you for all that you're doing. I know there's, I gather there's a lot of misinformation in Russia. Because your stories are online, so are they available and accessible by Russian people? That's my question.
Yeah, thank you for your question. You know, like from, I guess, 2015, many Russian social networks, like mostly all social networks from Russia, like Contact and so on, they were cancelled in Ukraine. But anyway, we have, I guess, 20% of audience from Russia, Belarus, and also from Kazakhstan and other Russian-speaking countries. And I guess that maybe some Ukrainians, they would not like share with me this feeling, but I get that it's very important to be also understandable for them and still to explain them what's happening. So for this, we have Russian version on our website, and also we have some Russian language streams on YouTube, just to create this balance between disinformation that they have because they like closed many oppositional channels. They like cleaned up their informational space. So for this, we also shared this opportunity to read our stories in Russian, and also to watch our videos and streams in Russian. And I get that because I see these comments from Russian people. Sometimes they started to understand. Sometimes they started to understand that they just spent their life in this bubble that was created by Putin, but some Russian world supporters. And I guess that it's also important that we showed them this another perspective. So we also have a cooperation with some big NGOs like Vox. We have, I guess it's like very important one. They also verifying content for Facebook, and also they have many editorial boards like in USA, in Ukraine, in other countries. They provided this fact checking on Russian disinformation, and we also publish their reports just to show people what is true, what is untrue, just to show them how to verify the information and so on. So we're also trying to resolve this issue with disinformation.
Good question. Anybody else?
Thank you. I have a question for Abdi. I wondered if you could speak to what it was like to create your digital story when it was requested. So it wasn't necessarily entirely you that was motivating the creation of it, or initiating it.
Thanks, Shona. What was it like making a digital story in some ways that was requested? Because it was for a project that allowed other people's stories to be heard. And it was about giving a platform to other kind of online voices, and it was going to contribute to this archive that was going to be the making of Black Britain. It actually felt really good. It felt like a really useful thing to do with my skills. It felt like I was creating a space for other people's voices in a way that maybe I think journalism does, but it also, the people whose voices are agency. So there was an interesting tension there between being created for a specific purpose and it being about something that I kind of experienced and reflected on my inside. There was an interesting tension, but I felt really good about it.
Okay, I got one more question. Anybody out there got a question? No? Okay, I'll come to you next. I'll just ask this one quick. Obviously, the diaspora of millions of Ukrainians who've left the Ukraine, who are now living in many different countries. How is Channel 24 able to reach out and have conversations with the refugees and people who've been forced to leave the country? Is there a specific channel for people, in Germany to learn what's going on, or Poland to learn what's going on? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I saw it starting from the first days of the war. Like many volunteers, they gathered even before some authorities gathered on the border. They created special channels, mostly on Telegram, because this messenger is very popular in Ukraine, and it's more safe and more understandable for people than Facebook, for example, because Facebook sometimes ban some photos, some videos, some messages, or if it is about Russian-Ukrainian war. So I saw that the people and volunteers, they created many useful channels for Ukrainians, in every country. I know it from people from Poland, because they accepted 2 or 3 million people from Ukraine by now. And also in Germany, we have not only special channels on Telegram, but also many special websites with some specific information about how to get this permanent residence permit, how to get some psychological assistance if you're faced with trauma, how to find some useful contacts of embassy and so on. So it was a big network of special instruments and tools for refugees and for people from Ukraine. I was surprised because I spoke to my colleagues in Brussels, and they said that during this Syrian crisis in 2015, it didn't work like this. So it was very unexpected that people united so fast and created many platforms, as well as on social networks, as well as on some volunteer and government level to help Ukrainians. So it's quite easy now to find out where you need to go for registration, where you can find some help if you can't find some, I don't know, clothes or some food and so on. It was quite easy, as well as in the beginning, as well as now. So now, speaking even from myself, I feel very safe in Germany. And during the first 2 months, I've been in Lithuania, and there I also saw many support from the local people and from volunteers. And I also speaking about this video that my colleague showed you. I also been on Palanka border in Moldova, near Odessa region, south of Ukraine. And I've also been on Polish border and I saw that there are many people who like still can help you, even if now this number of people is not so high as it was at the beginning. So there are many instruments and tools and opportunities to gain this help, and I get that it was, for me, it was unexpected, and it's very I'm very grateful for people from all around the world that they united for Ukrainians, and they helped us as we are like their I don't know, relatives, or as we are their friends. So it was unexpected for me.
Very powerful. Let me get you a question from the audience.
So it's kind of like a few questions in one. It's about the people that you interview and whose stories you are telling. So how do you find the people that you're going to interview? Like, are they coming to you with the stories, or do you find them in whatever way, or do other people put you into contact with them? And then also, is there like some kind of process in how you decide whose story is going to be told, or something like that? And also, do you also have people who don't want their story to be told? So if you find someone and you talk to them, but they don't want to talk to you?
Yeah, thank you. It depends on the situation, because if we talk about this story, this photo from Kiev region, it just right after the liberation of the region, we knew that there are many people, and we came there to make some photos, but we realized that people, after this like 1 month of occupation, they didn't have any chance to talk to each other and to others, so they started to share these emotions freely. And we asked, could we like record your story, because it's very important to show that you're faced with this difficult situation, but you're still alive and you still like support Ukraine, and you still and you also could show that war is a big drama and a big evil. So maybe if some Russians will see these pictures and your story, maybe they will start to understand that they need to stop. So when you're on a venue, it's like the first option. You sometimes just even didn't plan it, but you visited the venue and you see the people who freely talk to you, and you could ask them to share their story, and if they are open for the sharing, you can try. And I guess it's like when it's unexpected, it's even more powerful, because people didn't prepare some speeches, they didn't prepare some special notes, but they are just expressing themselves, and you see this like clear emotion of the or clear vision of this person. And the second way, yeah, it's when you have some topic. For example, like now we have some regions that are under occupation, and we get that it's very important to give them a voice, because sometimes they doesn't have any internet connection or any like chance to call to their relatives. So sometimes they can start to think that Ukraine forgot about them. So we tried to reach them through some safe messengers, just to give them a voice. And then if you have like some special topic, you can decide and you can prepare your speaker to your questions. And if I could give you an example from like for these stories from occupied territory, before I start to interview someone, I'm asking them, so are you safe? Is it okay if like I will mention your name, or do I need to change your name? Can you give me like the specific information about your family? Wouldn't or this is doesn't safe and or this isn't safe, and maybe I will ask you just about your like emotions and how you are like overcome this occupation period and so on. So here is not so fast process, because because you didn't come to some venue or some region and you didn't do this like on the ground, but you preparing this story step by step, just making this like background profile of your story, and then just tracking the answers of your hero and your of person who you're interviewing. So it depends on the like topic and on the venue where you are. So I guess it's even more easier when you are speaking with someone on venue, because you have this, I don't know, eye contact. You can like feel how like person react on your words. But when you are, for example, just typing a text on a messenger, because like you have not any other chance to make this interview, because like there are some connection issues, internet issues, and also it's not so safe to do this. So it's much harder, and it's needs more like preparation for you as a journalist.
Great answer. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you need to say? Otherwise, Olga, I may ask you to do a little bit of a summation of anything else you want to say to us as people very interested in what's going on in Ukraine. Or I should also say, are there any questions in the chat, or any of our online participants have any questions for Olga before we give her her last words? Anybody? 1, 2, 3. Okay, Olga. So just, you know,
Yeah,
what would you hope we take away from today? Go ahead. You can go ahead, Olga. I'm really asking you. I'm just asking you to say, do you have final words for us today? And we'll let you get back to your work.
Okay, because I thought someone like was on the stairs, and I saw that maybe someone wanted to say something. So sorry. So I have like only, I guess, one small sentence for you, because I guess it's very important, not only like if you are in some trouble, or if you are like creating some stories in the times of war. It's also very important even if you're like in your daily life or in your daily story creation. I wish you to be brave, because like if you are speaking also about your, I don't know, childhood, about your some like past trauma, about even your like happy emotions, sometimes it's not so easy to show it, and to be so brave that to be brave to share it. So I just want to wish you to be brave and to stay strong, because every story matters, and if you will share your story, you will feel that you created something new, not only for others, but also for yourself. So stay strong and brave. Thank you.
What a great event. Thank you, Olga. Give my best to Anastasia. Give my best to your colleagues in your work at Channel 24, and we'll be looking for more stories coming from Channel 24. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and have a good day. All right. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody, for this session. We'll let you go. Get into the next session a little earlier or grab a cup of coffee.